Hello everyone. It's been a while since I've done a video on model railroading news or just simply talking about model railroading. Last video was on the Acela back in January 2021. This time, it's on a big announcement from Lionel on Friday the 13th, the Vision Line Triplex. Something I honestly was already expecting was coming, but was still surprised by. In this video, I will first start with discussing details on the model, talk about the features, the versions offered in the catalog, add my thoughts to the mix, and then close out the video with which one I will be ordering. So first off, as I'm sure everyone is going to know at this point, this is the MTH Premier Line tooling, but it is greatly improved. How? Well, the old MTH version was a great looking model overall, but it had a rather big issue for people that took theirs to clubs. The assembly, which was rather tedious. The steps involved with assembling it went as follows. Take the engine and tender and put both of them in two engine cradles upside down. Next, connect the electrical connector from the tether into the receptacle on the engine. Then, move the tender towards the back of the engine while carefully sliding the drive receptacle into the square shaft on the tender, while making sure the drop plate is above the tender walkway. Once the drive receptacle is slid into the square shaft, you line up the hole for the tether and screw the two pieces together with a provided flathead screwdriver. Then carefully put the engine right side up without breaking any details. This process takes about 5 minutes to get done every single time you take it out of the box to run it. Not a fun process, and the main reason why I didn't want to get this model before. By the way, from here on out, the details that I mentioned in the video, which were not mentioned in the catalog, are from the Ryan and Dave show of the Triplex that was streamed the same day as the catalog release. Lionel made the process of getting the model ready to run a lot easier due to the model, as per what Ryan said, being put together out of the box. No longer do you need to fiddle with getting two pieces of the engine together before even getting it on the track. Just place it on the track and you're ready to run. The tender can still be separated from the engine via a screw, and then you unplug an electrical tether between the tender and the engine. The electrical tether is there for power sharing and other connections like the control switches, but you no longer have to deal with the drive connection between the engine and the tender, since the engine now features two motors, one in the tender and one in the main part of the engine, but I will get back to this a bit later. Lionel also moved all of the engine controls to be on top of the tender, under the now removable coal load, so you no longer have to have the engine upside down to access those controls. But back to the two motors parts of the triplex. The second motor in the tender is now for a new feature that Lionel developed called wheel slip. Yes, it is no longer just a sound effect, it is actual real wheel slip with the rear drivers, plus the chuffs playing in sync. They achieved this by having two control boards on the model, one in the main engine and one in the tender, both of which have the ability to read how fast the motor is spinning. The model is basically two locomotives in one, with the tender control board having special firmware to make the wheel slip feature work on cue. The wheel slip function will mainly activate when the water and the coal level get to a low enough level, just like the real triplex. Lionel engines already have fuel and water level indicators built into their firmware, which you can of course reset with the reset key or the water filling key on the legacy remote. The effect activates on its own when you start moving and accelerate quickly, but could also be triggered on demand with the aux3 key, if I remember correctly. Other ways to activate it are by having the train brake slider all the way down on the cab 2 remote, throttling up the engine to a certain speed, and then you release the train brake completely. The boost button should also activate it. Along with the wheel slip feature, the rear set of drivers do not have traction tires since they would get torn up really quickly from the wheel slip feature, although the drivers on the main part of the engine do still have traction tires installed. The engine does still feature the usual Lionel steam engine features: main stack smoke, whistle steam smoke, legacy rail sounds, Odyssey 2, bicolor classification lights, 5 selectable whistles, 5 selectable bells, etc. However, the triplex takes it a step further with having sounds in the main locomotive and in the tender, The tender sounds are completely independent and will play with the wheel slip sounds and just play their own separate chuff sounds for the rear drivers. The whistle sound in the tender is also just an echo effect after you release the whistle to give the sounds more depth overall. There's also a smoke unit in the tender which is tied into the control board with the tender, so the chuffs will be synced to the wheel slip when active and the chuffs in the rear set of drivers. The engine also features a swinging bell effect, along with a rope attaching the bell to the cab, which is a nice detail. Road-specific crew and tower sounds are part of the Model 2, along with road-specific details offered on the Erie models, with either 2 sand domes or a single wide sand dome near the front stack, but also one of the Erie models has extra details on the running boards and a slightly different pipe arrangement on the boiler. In terms of the schemes offered in the catalog, there are 5 Erie versions: cab number 2603, cab number 5014, cab number 5015, and 5016 in a black boiler. There's also 5016 offered with the light blue boiler, but I will get back to this later. They also offered a lot of fantasy schemes, those being Denver Rio Grande, Northern Pacific, a What If Virginian Second Order, LCCA, exclusive Lionel lines in Erie colors, an unpainted Pilot, and a Halloween. The Halloween version is strange due to the obvious obscure paint scheme, but also because the paint has glow-in-the-dark aspects. In the dark, the orange parts of the main engine will glow green, and the rest of the body will glow blue. Other things to note with the Halloween version are the special Halloween sounds it has. I won't describe it, but you can hear the sounds in the Ryan and Dave video on the Triplex at around the 18-minute and 30-second mark. On top of this, there is a Triplex superset offered with a light blue boiler version of 5016 and 15 pieces of rolling stock. The set overall seems pretty reasonably priced actually, as all of the freight cars bought alone would probably cost you around $2,000, so $1,500 more for 15 cars seems pretty decent actually. Although I can definitely see an issue with space when it comes to buying this set. Anyway, overall I think the Triplex is a great offering from Lionel, and the engines seem pretty reasonably priced. The last time MTH offered the engine was in 2015 at $1,500. If you account for inflation, that's around $1,950 today. Although I can understand people being upset about the price, remember the Vision Line Big Boy in the 2022 Big Book was $2,900. Taking this into account, I fully expected Lionel to ask $3,500 for the Triplex. The Vision Line Triplex is also the same cost as the Brass Hybrid Challenger from the 2022 Volume 2 catalog, which has less features and had 2 Vision Line features, which was 4-digit addressing and road-specific dialogue, but was not actually sold as a Vision Line product. So $2,500 retail for the Vision Triplex looks pretty reasonable overall. Of course, some hobby shops will likely offer them for close to $2,000 during early pre-orders. That being said, I am going to pre-order one of these. I took a good look at all the offerings in the catalog and narrowed it down to either the Pilot version or one of the Erie versions, minus the superset. I highly considered the Pilot version, but decided not to get it as it would have generic crew dialogue. In the end, I narrowed it down to 5014 due to it having more details on the running board, but if I really could, I would have bought the Pilot version as well, since the brass details standing out from the diecast parts looks really nice. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up the video at that. I'm very excited to try out my second Vision Line model, as well as my first Vision Line model from new. As you guys probably have seen in my videos, I have the GE Evolution Hybrid in my collection that I bought used about 3 years ago now. And I've wanted to buy another Vision Line offering for a while, but just haven't seen anything new that's caught my attention until now. And anything from the past in this product line is selling for way more than I want to pay for on the secondhand market. But yeah, before I ramble on more, I'll end the video here. Feel free to discuss the Vision Triplexes in the comments section, but try to keep it constructive. Thanks for watching. Bye.